This story begins with our protagonist Liu Sheng having a nightmare face-to-face with a giant monster, but that's no problem for him as he slices through this huge monster with ease, but then is woken up by his teacher, who yells at him for sleeping through the entire class. And we get to watch as the entire class laughs at him. The teacher then bashes our main character, saying he will never become successful if he continues this. We then learn that Liu Sheng's health status is at a 0.7, so no matter if he sleeps or not, his life won't be long enough to become successful. We meet Liu Ming, one of our protagonist friends, who asks if he was having a bad dream again, to which he just nods. We get a glimpse into his dream, which is just a depressing field filled with just monsters. His best friend doesn't even believe in him, and says that his dreams are merely delusions, and that he won't even become a hero, he's just a weak, unhealthy human. His best friend asks if he wants to go play some games, but our protagonist just wants to go home instead. This makes his best friend sad, and he begs him to come play, but Liu Sheng really isn't feeling it today. He must feel more unhealthy than usual. He then just starts to head home, and we find out that he has reincarnated into this new world, and hates that he has to worry about final exams and math, so he decides to just check the top news, and realizes this world isn't much different than his world. And just like his world, there are heroes who fight monsters. But as he's chilling admiring the billboards, a strong woman holding a bunch of boxes rushes past him, yelling at him to move, filling him with jealousy, hoping one day he will be that strong. We get to our protagonist's home, where we see his mom and dad, and his mom is helping him with a recent injury. Turns out his dad actually has a present from him, some health recovery powder. Our protagonist is thankful but overwhelmed with emotions because of how expensive this powder is, and also because he learns his sister's health is also declining. But the parents make the most of the situation and decide to have a celebratory dinner. Anyways, he heads to his room to work out and does some body reconstruction techniques recommended by the Martial Alliance. You see, 300 years ago the world changed forever when monsters emerged from these cracks, so humans needed to tap into a different source of strength called martial arts prosperity. But Liu Sheng, even after doing the same techniques these powerful humans do, still isn't getting any healthier or stronger, and feels awful because of this. Feeling like the reincarnation was all for nothing, he then randomly dozes off back into his nightmare world. And there's a monster right behind him who lunges straight towards him. This monster is a zombie. He feels defeated for a second, but doesn't let that unmotivate him and fights back, kicking the zombie away, and then grabbing a rock and smashing the zombie's brain until it died. After the fight, a blue aura starts to surround Liu Sheng, and we see these memories of the zombie he just killed. As Liu Sheng is trying to understand what is happening, another monster ambushes him. Without thinking, he absolutely annihilates this monster, leaving him insanely confused. How he was able to do that, he starts to feel strength entering his body, realizing that killing the zombie not only gave him the memories, but gave him the zombie's strength as well. He gained a lifetime of experience from killing this zombie, but sadly it's just a dream. But it's weird because of how real it feels to Liu Sheng. He then gets hit with yet again another memory that has the words base 1359, the same base that appeared in the previous memory. So he makes it his mission to find this base. But this memory didn't feel as unpleasant as the last, and his monster clearing ability goes up. Something insane starts to go on, but before we get to learn, or he gets to learn what's going on, the dream gets interrupted because his sister knocked on the door, telling him that it's time to eat. When Liu Sheng opens the door, he looks unusually buff for some reason. Could it be the dreams are actually making him stronger in the real world as well? Anyways, we get introduced to Qinghe Liu Sheng's younger sister, and she exposes him for not working out and actually sleeping, and tells him to hurry up and not to make dad and mom wait. She's also shocked at how buff he has gotten, thinking it's from working out. But from what we saw, he barely worked out. He literally fell asleep working out, and woke up more buff. Turns out too, Liu Sheng and his sister were really close when they were younger, until they started attending school together. This probably being because of how powerful, healthy, and strong she was compared to her loser, weak brother. While our protagonist falls into self-pity, once again feeling worthless, he gets a glimpse in the mirror of his new buff body. Not only that, but he doesn't feel sluggish or weak at all. He then puts the pieces together and finds out that the dreams are actually affecting his real-life strength. The power and memories he inherited in the dreams actually did affect his real self. Anyways, he head to dinner, and Liu Sheng scoffs down his food, and for some reason he isn't full and wants more, which is not normal for him. His dad tells his mom to make some more food for him, and explains to Liu Sheng that this is normal and just a part of puberty, which we know it probably isn't, and is because of the dream. For some reason, despite his dad being happy about his puberty, thinking it can improve his health, his sister makes a snarky comment that he's 18 and has a 0.8 health status, so it doesn't even matter. His dad stands up for Liu Sheng and tells her to stop being mean to her brother. Liu Sheng is curious though if his health status increased after the dream, so he wants to get retested at the dojo. He heads to Hong Chuan's dojo, to which we see a poster outside the dojo. This poster explains the different ranks of martial artists artists. A rank 1 martial artist has to have a health status of 1.5 and a combat power of 150. A rank 2 needs a health status of 15, with a combat power of 1500. A rank 3 needs a health status of 100 and combat power of 10,000, a big jump. And rank 4 is an even bigger jump. The dojo monster Ni Hongchuan is a rank 4 martial artist, and to become a rank 4 you need a health status of 200 and a combat power of 100,000. Lu Sheng also sees a poster for a school to learn Hongchuan combat skills, but because of his health status, there's no way his family would ever pay for it. Also, he doesn't really need the school because he can just gain experience and strength from his dreams, so it's okay. Anyway, he enters the dojo and is greeted by a kind lady who welcomes him to the dojo, asking if he's going to be registering for the martial arts enrichment class, but he explains he's just there for an assessment on his health status and combat power. What we thought was a kind lady actually judges him for not having a personal instructor, assuming he isn't from a wealthy family. She then tells him where to go to be assessed, and he goes to room 8. He uses the machine in the room to assess his health status, and to our surprise, it actually did go up to 0.963. Lu Sheng is insanely happy, because there is now hope for him to be strong, like he always wished. He then decides to check his combat power with a dummy test machine. Before he punches the dummy, he calms his mind and reassures him that the experience and combat techniques from the zombies prepared him for this, so he slams his fist into the dummy, and he has an insane score of 113 combat score, which is a huge increase. This gets him pumped up to sleep more, because if only an hour of dreaming had this increase, imagine what 8 to 10 hours could do. But he can't seem to fall asleep and really struggles. He decides to just work out again, hoping it will make him fall asleep. So he starts his exercise, but he makes a mistake and starts doing the exercise differently, doing the technique from the zombie he killed instead. He continues to keep doing this exercise, because he can feel the power surging through him every time he does it. He notices that it's not just the technique, but it's a breathing technique he's doing as well that the zombie was taught. He was able to learn a technique that probably took that zombie ages to do, in seconds because of the memories he gained. Mid-exercise though, he gets insanely hungry and thinks that since he is gaining so much power and health, his body is forcing him to grow, and regular food isn't enough for him. This would mean he would need to take pills, but his family isn't rich enough to afford pills. He now needs to find a way to provide income, so he remembers that schools reward students for performing well, so he will now need to take school more serious and stop sleeping in class. We head to the gym locker room, where Lu Sheng and his friend are changing for a practical combat lesson. His friend gets a glimpse at Lu Sheng's abs and is in shock, wondering how he got abs so fast, and also wants to touch up on the abs. Our protagonist explains that he got abs from simply working out, and his friend thinks he worked so hard just so he could impress girls. Now we are in the gym where the instructor, Zhang Zhenguo, is going to be reviewing the basics of combat techniques. Zhang Zhenguo is also a rank 3 martial artist who has battled real monsters and even has the scars to prove it. Lu Sheng is starting to get cocky though, and is not impressed whatsoever with the instructor because of the more advanced techniques he has learned from his dreams. The instructor does some kicks and punches, and these are the combat techniques they will be covering for the day. Zhang Zhenguo calls up Yang Yifei first, who seems to be the strongest in class, and everyone is obsessed with him. He performs the technique with the teacher, and while this is happening, everyone is complaining that it's unfair how rich he is, and while our protagonist would usually agree, he now has his dreams that will allow him to become the strongest in school. Yang Yifei finishes his last technique from the instructor, and even the strongest kid in school supposedly isn't perfect and has issues with his balance according to the instructor. Yang Yifei can't take criticism though, and brags to the instructor that he is nothing compared to his family and just a low-ranked martial artist. Zhang doesn't let this get to him and continues teaching, asking the class if anyone would like to spar with Yang Yifei, but everyone is terrified because of how strong he is. This upsets the instructor because he literally can't teach if all the students are too afraid to even try. Our protagonist though isn't scared anymore, and the instructor from just seeing his eyes can tell he's been through serious training recently. So Lu Sheng steps up to spar the strongest kid in class, and everyone is in shock, and even his friend is trying to talk him out of it. But our main character reassures him not to worry, and he's got this. Zhang tells them that they have a limit of 10 minutes to spar and tells them to be safe. This fight will test if the dreams really have changed Lu Sheng, because before he definitely wouldn't stand a chance with Yang Yifei. The instructor is impressed with Lu Sheng, wondering how he never saw him before, so he asks what his vitality was from the last test, and for some reason he lies and says that is a 0.802. Zhang is caught off guard because he looks much stronger than his score, but tells him if that's so to just pay attention to strength. And the fight starts. Instantly, Yang, being cocky, gives Lu some pointers on how to avoid breaking his bones when he falls. Lu Sheng though doesn't let him taunt him and tells him to come at him. He's ready. And Yang wastes literally literally no time, and instantly is about to sock him in his face. A bunch of advice floods into our main character's head as this is happening. As he's about to punch him, we see the crowd panicking for Lu Sheng. Yang Yif already feels he won, as he thinks the stronger one will always come on top, stating that weaklings like Lu deserve an embarrassing exit. But to Yang's surprise, Lu dodges the punch and he embarrassingly punches the sky. He is insanely shocked, and Lu clocks him right in the face, sending him flying into the crowd. The crowd is flabbergasted, and the instructor panics and checks on Yang Yif. Everyone can't believe that Lu Sheng, one of the weakest people like a week ago, sent Yang flying with one punch.